Hi. So yes, my name's Kirsty. I'm the founder and director of Swipe Right PR. I've been working in PR for the last 6 years and within eSports for the last few as well. Experience ranges. I did the first Gfinity tournament. I do the League of Legends World Championships and so on and so forth. So lots there. But essentially, the main area to talk about right now is how the communications for eSports can be a bit of a minefield. You're no longer just contending with traditional media. And instead, you're looking at how each action can affect your long-term story. So whether that's your community, team acquisitions, anything like that. And with so much noise being made, it's really hard to sort of understand who it is that you need to talk to get your actual message across as well. So with that, I will continue. Do I just press that? Okay, great. So yes, eSports in a nutshell. Essentially, the main thing you need to be aware of are the numbers, and this is why everyone is pretty much interested in this industry. I've thrown together a few facts and figures here, which may be of interest. The main one being that a lot of these numbers contend with traditional sports. And interestingly, this is you're also going to find that a lot of sort of traditional athletes' fees and everything are actually being thrown the way for eSports players as well. And it's not just big publishers and mobile developers that are getting involved with this. There are new independent studios looking to break into the market, and you're seeing more and more service providers, that's eSports organisers, streaming platforms, all trying to break into the market as well. It's essentially a very key marketing avenue and a revenue driver for all online game publishers. The UK traditionally falls quite far behind when it comes to eSports, with the US and Asia leading the way. But you may have heard that Yuki has its own eSports subgroup. You can obviously talk to Sam a little bit more about that if you want to get involved. Last year, we also saw the League of Legends quarterfinals at Wembley. We had the ESL studio launch last week. And today, the International eGames Committee was announced to help shape competitive gaming and to allow gamers to compete for their country, which is interesting. So there's obviously much more of a hunger for competitive gaming content. So it's also very easy to think that you could just share a piece of that pie. Even if it's just a small percentage of these numbers that you kind of want to get a snap at. But with any sport, the competitive gaming audience is very typical and follows and supports specific games and teams and brands that they trust. So no matter how much you're going to spend or how good your technology is, there's a lot of noise being made at the moment. So although you may not get the support you need from key influencers or the numbers required, that's mainly because the community isn't there, and that's pretty much where you need to start. You need to start with the grassroots. So the competitive gaming funnel. This is an example that I like to use for all organisers, to be honest. It's a really good way to figure out just how the industry pretty much works. So if we start with the engagement aspect, and this is essentially your media and immediate community. So as soon as you launch a product, if you take, for example, League of Legends, who weren't initially going to be a competitive sport as much as they love competitive gaming, they drew a lot of media attention because of, obviously, it's an amazing game, everyone enjoys it. But essentially their community started making noise. There was a need for this competitive ladder, and users generated their own content. With that is exactly when Riot steps in and started pulling together their own tournaments. Not the huge things we see today, and for the first few years it was very small. The prize pools were maybe $500,000. So we're not talking, I mean, we're talking big money, but we're not talking big money, right? And then essentially you're, by putting this competitive funnel in, you're creating more acquisition, and you're creating new players, you're allowing new players to enter this funnel. Players can then compete, and as soon as you have the tournament in place, you're then looking at more media engagement, you're looking at more community coming into it, and you're looking at more users generating their own content, so on and so forth. And it just continues like that. So one thing to note here really is specifically the role of a tournament. And most people know esports from tournaments. They hear the big stories about big prize pools, and they hear stories about all the numbers, people tuning in, where all these events are based. But it's actually not the be-all and end-all for any esports title. It's really easy to see these sort of obvious PR and marketing benefits. You can see an aspirational layer, and you can obviously encourage new players to climb up that ladder. But essentially, events require quite a strong, active, and engaged community. And your community and talent are key. So without them, you don't get the media buzz, as the numbers simply aren't there. The aspirational layer that encourages new talent, or the user acquisition, which are all vital to keep the competitive funnel in rotation. A number of companies who host tournaments actually barely make the money back. It's actually pretty expensive to pull some of these things together, and a lot of people actually just decide to establish their own studios to kind of keep things a little bit more cost effective for them. So really, we should be looking beyond tournaments, and instead we should be looking at who your targets are, who your influencers are, and why they should be paying attention to you, and also how we can get them talking positively. So these targets may change according to the story that you want to tell. And this is really where sort of PR comes into effect, because obviously it's down to us to figure out exactly which of these threads are relevant to you. So as an example, within Swipe Right, our objectives change from client to client, but we can be looking at a more B2B focus, trying to figure out how to help you on the investment side, how to sort of help you with partnerships, cross-promotional sponsors, maybe driving people to a live stream, so on and so forth. But we are constantly looking at what that message should be for each audience and the right media to tap into that audience. So for example, mainstream media, a very obvious focus here, but it's what is eSports? It's like no one's ever heard of eSports before. Oh, these numbers look amazing. Wow, it's in the millions, great. Okay, tech, pretty much the same thing, but a little bit more au fait. Specialist gaming, looking at much bigger tournaments, and also key announcements. So any big team buyouts, you're looking at Fnatic, Team Secret, all those kind of guys. And then the more esports dedicated guys, which a lot of people won't have heard of if they don't follow specific teams, games, or whatever. But it's everything from your forums to streamers and bloggers. So outside of any sort of B2B communications, the long-term aim with any coverage is to inspire growth within your competitive funnel. So, and these aims and benefits can range. So from gaining future investment, encouraging leading brands such as Pepsi, Korea Air, for sponsorships, or organizations such as Fnatic to buy a new team. And this naturally puts a stamp of approval on your brand. So you may also be looking to widen your reach with a broader gaming audience, or to encourage more talent, more pros, more casters, anyone like that, to come on board with your product as well. Just a quick case study. We do a lot of work with Super Evil Megacorp, and Vainglory has sort of gone from strength to strength over the last year. It's been under a year since the global launch. There's a very established competitive gaming ladder, and they brought a number of professionals on board. And actually, a lot of those professionals, because it's a touchscreen MOBA, came from League of Legends. And although it wasn't the smoothest of processes, being touchscreen, from PC to touchscreen, there's actually been a really warm reception to it. So with that, they were able to generate that competitive ladder and become the fastest mobile game on Twitch, fastest growing mobile game on Twitch. They have a growing pro scene, and they have seasonal tournaments in place. So we just had the winter seasonal tournament at the Gfinity Arena last week, and we'll have another one in spring in the next quarter. And we just announced a huge Twitch partnership. So this is pretty much a brilliant success story for the last year. And essentially what they did is they embraced a few PR must-haves. And this doesn't just apply to esports, this can actually apply to pretty much any campaign. But pretty much no matter what your objective is, it's important for your PR to fully understand your brand, how to navigate through the different esports constructs, and to think constructively and creatively with each angle proposed to them by the client. So your agency or PR person should have a very in-house mentality. We should essentially be an extension of your company. And regardless of whether you are working from the ground up or with an established brand, we should have a very clear idea of your market position, understand your community, and most importantly, be able to develop your message. We are no longer a separate entity to any external company. We typically merge with community outreach and marketing strategies, and it's pretty much pivotal to be fluid these days. So with everything moving at such a fast pace, regardless of whether it's esports or not, it's really easy for another brand to come in and steal your spotlight. So we should pretty much act as additional assistants to your social comms, marketing, and we should be able to advise you on all the right partners, sponsorships, anything like that. And having this level of involvement and flexibility allows us to be creative when pitching ideas to media. We should know the media that suits your audience. And most importantly, we should be realistic. Esports is still a very new area, and with everyone finding their footing. So you want to find the right coverage in the right places more than anything. And this basically means that we should be very honest with you with our feedback. So little things in terms of timing can matter a lot, but equally we should be able to preempt when your community might be outraged about something, when your community might be irritated about some new upgrade, anything like that. And we need to be able to be on message, on point, and reactive to it. And also confidentiality, extremely important. We've had clients in the past that might not necessarily want to tell us absolutely everything, completely understandable, happy to sign an NDA as always, but essentially if you don't tell us the full story, we can't build an overall picture and we can't pitch out that story, we can't figure out what the headline's going to be for you, and you won't have an overall successful campaign. So just a couple of points to take away. Esports PR is not your normal PR. It's not traditional PR. It is not just getting you the front page of the Times. It is figuring out exactly who you need to speak to. Your community and players really do come first. Unfortunately, to any press in the room, apologies, Kate, but you do come second to whatever it is the players need to do at the time. And knowing where your community actually lie, whether that's in forums and everything, there's still a PR job to be done there. Lastly, big budgets. Not an issue. You don't need to come to us with a big budget. You don't need to tell us that you're spending $1 million on whatever tournament. It's really not necessary because it doesn't mean the right visibility. It actually could be a little bit detrimental if you don't handle things professionally, if you don't create a sports-like environment, then you're actually doing the overall industry an injustice. And so with that, thank you. Would you?